On the next edition of the Sports Desk.
So let's go out to Bonnie Prickett for a preview. Bonnie.
Hi to This Week in Torrance viewers. We've got a lot of prep sports coming your way. The South and Torrance boys tennis teams take it to the court, but one team is really king. South and West baseball goes extra innings, and this game has some really good highlights you just got to see. We've got all these stories and a whole lot more. To catch the news, you have to watch the Sports Desk. And we're on every day at 4 and 9:30. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Bonnie. And finally, the next installment of Works in Progress is coming to the George Nakano Theater at the end of the month. Reporter Margaret Sharp learns more about this premiere performance.
I think they were completely flabbergasted. They didn't know what to make of it. They had some very suspicious ideas about agents and acting and movies, and I'm sure it was all very illicit.
Annette Lee recalls her parents' reaction when she told them she would be going into theater after finishing her undergrad in business marketing at NYU.
I worked and I decided that something was missing, and I went into theater after that.
Lee earned her master's from UCLA in playwriting. She's produced 6 plays that have been performed in New York, Los Angeles, and Colorado. English only, her current play is set in Monterey Park.
The story of Monterey Park is an interesting one, and I really thought that it needed to be told in some form, and I'm a playwright, so that's the form I tell my stories in.
As a native of Monterey Park, Lee is the perfect person to tell its story. English Only is set in the late 1980s when Monterey Park had a huge influx of Asian American immigrants.
The real estate value actually goes up 700% with the arrival of these new immigrants.
Since immigrants began to largely populate the city, residents who had already been living there began to feel excluded.
The issue was that they felt pushed out because these immigrants had different resources. They had more resources, they had more money, they could come in and they created their own community.
It was this phenomenon that caused local leaders to try and make a law that declared English as the city's official language.
The fact that you know, they found it necessary and were compelled to create a law, a resolution to declare English as the official language was monumental at that time, and I still think is interesting now.
The play is a mixture of Lee's own memories and stories that she's heard from friends' experiences.
Whenever a writer writes anything, all of it is you. You know, even if it's not literally your autobiographical work, there's always a part of you in it.
Lee wants people to walk away from the play carrying a larger message.
That there are different people in different languages, and you know, these people may seem very different today, but in a couple of years, couple of decades, you know, it won't seem so at all. It'll just become part of the fabric of America.
Lee's experiences and environment have been a big part of what makes English Only a special production. For CitiCABLE 3, I'm Margaret Sharp.
Thank you, Margaret. English Only will premiere at the George Nakano Theater on Wednesday, April 28th at 7 p.m. For tickets, call the box office at 310-781-7171. And that's going to do it for us at This Week in Torrance. I'm Ben McCain.
And I'm Jin Chun. If you've missed any portion of our show, you can catch us again at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.